On today's episode, we're going to be talking about AI again. I just actually did a recent episode on my podcast about AI, and it was kind of like a prediction episode on what I think AI will be doing to the photography industry in the next couple of years. And I remember as I was creating that episode, even as I was kind of recording that episode, I was thinking to myself, I bet that I'm going to have to make another episode about this. And I bet I'm going to have to talk about AI again, because to just put out that type of episode is just not truly a holistic understanding of where I'm at with AI and like what I believe about AI and like my predictions with AI. And so if you have not heard that episode, I would go back and listen. It's very recent. It's probably in the past 10 episodes where it's basically my predictions for the future of AI in the photography industry. And that episode had a very, I guess, straightforward presentation to it, or just straightforward way of thinking about things, which is, this is the way it is. Like, here's AI. There's kind of no going back. And here's what I predict is coming. Be wise, be strategic. And I don't want to see you left outside of the dust. I don't want to see you left in the dust of AI's rampage. I want you to actually excel in the midst of whatever AI boom we're in. Now, all of that being said, in the last episode, there is something about me personally that you should know, is that I have two sides. And if you have been around here for this podcast for any amount of time, you probably know these two sides of me. And there's this head Nate side, which is like the logical thinking, realism, hustle, profit, practicality, etc. All of that side of me. That's the head Nate. And then there's also this other side of me, which is the heart Nate. Okay. So this is like what I believe in, the like things that I find beautiful, things that evoke emotion in me, the feelings in me, the creativity in me. I don't know. This is how God made me. But anyways, I find that heart-led Nate is more like the way that I was born, and head-led Nate is more something that I'd like cultivate over the years. Like that's like my business rationale side, whatever. So anyways, all this to say, I'm only sharing that little tidbit because that first AI episode that I did, which was like the predictions of what AI could be doing to the photography industry as a whole, kind of like what it's doing to impact our creativity, impact our industry, that was so head Nate, right? And so this episode, if I could encapsulate it by just saying, this is like the heart Nate episode on AI. And I want to talk about a few things on today's episode that I think will describe like where I'm at in terms of heart Nate, in terms of AI. And so this kind of comes down to three things. First of all, what I want to talk about is AI and what it's doing right now and what it's not doing right now. So kind of like where I fundamentally see humans rejecting AI or things in the technological boom that I think are really for good. Okay. And then number two, something I want to talk about is the impact AI, I think, will have on increasing human value, okay, positively. So that's a good thing. I think we should all be happy that human values and human value as a whole is increased. And then the third thing I want to talk about, if we get to it, is where and when we should make war with AI and say, this is our line in the sand. We will not go further than this. Even like from a spiritual perspective, how we should discern when to use AI and when to not use AI, when to take maybe good things from it, but when to be like, no, I'm not using AI for something like that, or I'm not letting it rob me of that. Okay. So the first thing I want to discuss today is AI and what it's doing right now, and even just like where technology is at right now and where I actually see people rejecting it for good, you know, and where I see AI not going beyond certain limits and certain boundaries, or even again, just even tech. Because I'm going to give some different examples here. And my whole point here when I talk about this is that AI and tech, is it really completely taking over the world, like every single market and sector that people like people say that it is? Or are people actually still human and pushing back on that? So the whole thing here too is like an understanding that if you didn't hear me say this in the last AI episode, I am not an apologist for AI. I actually really don't like AI. I don't think it's a good thing for humanity. I think that if I could, again, click a big fat red button to say, get out of here, I would happily push that. Obviously, I can't do that. But here we are. So I have to, on the basis of that, okay, what can we do with this? What are the good silver linings here? Like, how can we see the good coming out of this, or even like where it's being pushed back? So let me give you some examples. And part of this is just me to encourage you and to give you a little more of a less doomsday feeling about AI than I think we've been fed in a lot of our culture. Because as we live in the digital entrepreneurship space, as we live in the creative space, it's so much doom and gloom around AI. And so I just want to kind of broaden your horizons a little bit, okay? So these are some places, I'm gonna give you some examples where the technological advancements of our society, or AI, whatever have you, because some of these are actually artificially intelligent integrations into our technological boom here, where they have tried to take over, but they didn't. And they actually got kind of stopped dead in their tracks because the people said no. All right. So, did you know this? Did you know that Amazon, okay, Amazon had this thing where they let you pay at Whole Food stores with your palms. Okay, so you'd basically take your palm and you go right up to like a scanner, and then you can kind of like get your palm scanned so that, and I don't know all the details of it. I never did it. It sounds creepy to me. Probably sounds creepy to you as I'm telling you. But you get your palm scanned, and then basically it knows like your palm, and then it connects it with kind of like your Apple Pay or your credit card numbers or whatever, so that you can basically go into a Whole Foods location, which is like a grocery store if you don't know what that is, and just pay with your palms, okay? Instead of a credit card, instead of whatever have you, okay? Well, people hated it, thought it was creepy, thought it was invasive, thought it was like the just over surveillance, and this technology completely failed. Completely failed. And so Amazon, by the way, owns Whole Foods. Amazon is now removing all of these palm scanning payment stations. They're branded, you can look it up. It's called Amazon One. They're removing all of them from its 500 plus Whole Foods locations, with removal scheduled to be completed no later than June 3, 2026. Okay, let me give you another example, and I'm going to pick on Amazon one more time. So, have you ever heard of an Amazon Go store? So, apparently, there were about 72 stores that were kind of put in the US system, the US market nationwide, called Amazon Go stores. And this is the type of store where you would walk in and you would scan whatever payment method you wanted to use. Maybe it was your palm, or it was a credit card. And then the technology was called Just Walk Out. That's what it was called. And so it used these highly intelligent, I'm pretty sure artificially intelligent cameras and sensors to just track what you had got and picked up off of the shelves in the store, and then it automatically would charge your account when you left. Just you'd walk out of the store, like no friction point, no like, checking out with like a person, none of that. It was just you walked out, right? Easy peasy, right? Seems like it'd be so easy. Seems like it'd be frictionless. Like, oh, this is the future. How cool. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Do you know that Amazon announced earlier this year that it's closing all of its Amazon Go and Amazon Fresh locations? That's what these were called. So all 72 stores nationwide, and they're now going to be concentrating its efforts instead on just its standard Whole Foods market locations, like good old fashioned grocery shopping and deliveries from Amazon. Right? So notice in all of this, in both of these cases, people just wanted and still do want normal human shopping experiences, even if that means it's less convenient. And I think, that means that people just wanted more human, more grounded of an experience to go shopping. They didn't want the weird, creepy, futuristic Star Wars experience that they were trying to say they could give us. Let me give you another case study. So, have you heard of robo taxis? These are basically AI that are competing with things like Uber, or like it's basically self-driving cars, right? And they've had a very rough go of it actually in the market. Cruise, the brand that is GM's version of these robo taxis, had its permit revoked in California after a serious incident and effectively shut down thereafter. Waymo, I actually ridden a Waymo back when I was in Austin, Texas this past year. They're still operating. They are kind of like a different robotaxi, different self-driving car. And they're still operating, but pretty narrowly, actually. The technology works in limited conditions, but broad adoption has really stalled quite significantly. Okay. So it's not really catching on super well. Okay. Another example. Does anybody remember the metaverse? Like, as in like Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, right? For Facebook, or just Meta as a whole. So this might be the biggest example. Meta spent something like $40+ billion building out the metaverse vision. Okay, which was like this creepy thing where people just had like their identities on. It was like, it looked like The Sims or something online, where you had like this whole thing. You could like live in this online database. I don't even know. I didn't explore it much. But anyways, it was creepy. It was the future thing. And the public basically rejected it and was like, that's weird. Nobody wants that. Please do not roll that out. And so then not only that, like people also didn't want to interact socially through VR avatars. Like that's part of what it was. It was like a lot of VR. So I did a little research on it, and it basically just said Meta has quietly pivoted away from this whole metaverse idea. Okay. Let me give you another example. And this is probably one you see more aggressively in your life, but AI chatbots, like when you go to a website and they'll go like chat with our customer service, and it's an AI chatbot, right? That's why I've never wanted to use those types of things. AI chatbots, any sort of artificial intelligent customer service replacements have seen so much pushback in the market, actually, where many customers, including myself, probably including yourself too, you could attest, many customers actively try to bypass them to just reach the human. Like, just let me reach the human, right? It's so crazy. I mean, and then I was thinking, I didn't do research on this, but this is more anecdotally just what I see in my own experience. Look at AI in photography. I remember when generative AI came out like 2 years ago, I thought it was over for photography. I mean, I thought when I was seeing that you could just like put mountains in the background of your images with generative AI, when I was seeing you could literally take an entire, just the subject of the image and just give them a completely different background or completely different outfit or completely different accessories, whatever have you, I was like, photography is over. Like, this is it. I actually, for like a solid 24 hours, I was like in a dark hole. So I was like, this is it. This is the end, right? It's not. It's not. We're like, what, 2 to 3 years deep in using generative AI. And I, for the most part, like based on how powerful it is, I barely see it being talked about. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is talked about. There are some cases where it gets really yucky and gross. But as much as I thought it would impact our industry, I don't feel like the impact has really been as aggressive as toxic as I thought it would be. It has so many legal regulations about it. AI humans in photos, like just creating AI photos in general is so widely mocked and abhorred by the creative community. People in and out of the industry think it's gross. Like, I feel like nobody wants it. It's often prosecuted legally. Granted, are there cases? Yes, where evil people do evil things and get away with it. Absolutely. But I do think that existed before AI was here too, in those types of cases. And I think by and large, the majority of the photography industry completely rejects this generative AI stuff that adds like mountains in the backgrounds or whatever have you. I think a lot of people just don't want that junk. Now, do I think it's the complete end of that generative AI, what you can do with AI in a photo? Do you think I think it's the end of the story necessarily? Maybe not, but I do think it is certainly so far a net positive for humans fighting against something like AI and the power that it could possibly hold. And my whole point in all of this is to show you and encourage you that I don't think things are always as grim and as hopeless as we may think they are on the outset, right? Like people may say, and people do say, AI is going to take over everything. Like it's over. It's dystopia from here on out. And I'd say, maybe, but I don't know about that. And I guess I don't really think that's going to happen, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the world will change. I don't think the world will be taken over. I think back to COVID during 2020 and 2021. And I remember when so many people were saying, like, the economy is over. Like this is going to send us into a Great Depression 2.0. Like everything is over. Like America's over. Like the world is over. We're all going to be living in dystopia in like a matter of months, if not in a matter of years. And honestly, like the entrepreneurship world is over. Businesses are over. The markets are over, right? It wasn't. It wasn't over. Yes, there was struggle, but some of the greatest entrepreneurs were born in the midst of COVID, right? Some of the greatest businesses started in COVID. Some of the greatest industry shifts happened during COVID. Some of the greatest books were written during COVID. Some of the greatest music was written during COVID. Like what predictions often misjudge in this department is humans. You can't put your finger on them. I think that's how God made us. He made us resilient. He made us strong under pressure. He made us creative in the midst of lack. He made us beautiful in the midst of pain. And again, I think the world will change, of course. I don't think the world will necessarily be taken over. Maybe that's my over optimism, but that's just what I believe. And I wanted to give that to you as maybe a different perspective on things so that I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to still get out there in your world, to be creative, that there is hope for this world beyond just what the headlines and the fearmonger people say. The second thing I want to talk about in this episode, wow, we're already 17 minutes deep, but I'm a little passionate about this. I really am. And that's why we're doing this here. The second thing I want to talk about is the impact AI, I think, will have on not decreasing humans, because I think that's what we think is like AI is going to take over human, right? But I think, what if it has the reverse effect? Just what if? Okay? Because if you look at it, what if it increases human value? You know, in every paradigm you have of the market, what do you have? What do you have? You have that the abundant resource, the thing that there is a lot of, goes down in demand. People need it less because it's everywhere. It's at everybody's fingertips. So people need it less, they value it less, they'll pay less for it. But what happens to the scarce resource? The scarce resource goes up in demand. Everybody wants it. Everybody will pay more for it. Everybody desires it more. And so when you look at the case of AI everywhere, what happens, in theory at least? AI becomes abundant. Human touch is what becomes scarce. Humanity is what becomes scarce. And I'll just show you, you already see this in many different ways. You see this generationally. Look at Gen Z. Okay. Gen Z, what is their big thing? What do people all talk about when they talk about Gen Z? Authenticity, honesty, integrity, transparency. These are all human traits, by the way. Okay. You see this in the world of artistry by and large. Okay. Musicians nowadays, like people just want the musicians that are the genuine ones. Like they want the ones that are real. I've seen so many artists out there that get like destroyed because people are like, you're so fake, or like, you're the industry plant, or this album was manufactured by like 10 different hit makers and basically felt like it's formulated in a lab, and maybe you sprinkled some AI on it as well. You know what I mean? Like the AI sounding stuff, people hate it. Nobody wants that. People want real stories from real artists, from real life events. Like those are the artists, especially in the music world, that are blowing up the most. People you can literally look back to their personal life and be like, oh, I see why they wrote that song. That's what people want. They want that honesty, that transparency. Look at the world of cinema. People want the raw, the real movies, the real scripts, the real actors. Like you look at someone like Christopher Nolan, and why do people love Christopher Nolan? Okay. Christopher Nolan's a very famous director. He's directing The Odyssey coming out this year. He directed some of my favorite movies ever, Dunkirk, Inception. I'm blanking. Yeah, so many different movies. Amazing, amazing director, right? But here's the deal. Why do people love him? Because he actually uses so limited amounts of CGI, even in his larger than life films. Okay. Even in his otherworldly, sprawling films. He uses such a limited CGI. Like some people, some people will laugh and be like, how is Christopher Nolan going to do the Cyclops in the Odyssey, which is like the one-eyed giant? Like how is he going to find a real one, right? It's a joke because it's obviously like you can't do that. But he's so known for the real explosions, or just like the reality of like being in the middle of the ocean and not just being like in a pool or something like that, right? People love him for that, right? You look at content nowadays on social media. People hate the over edited, over scripted content. They just like, now the big thing is yap content. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's just when people, it's just like stream of consciousness, people talking for like 2 minutes straight, even if it's not like a 15-second high return, high yield video. It's like, yeah, we just want someone being real and talking and not a bunch of cuts. We just want someone who's feels like we're just FaceTiming them, right? If you've noticed, handwritten fonts have been on the rise in the past couple of years, rather than clean serif or sans serif fonts. Like people want personally handwritten fonts, like actually someone's handwriting. I mean, in so many different ways. Like, have you seen on Spotify, like they'll sometimes serve you up an AI song and you find out the artist is AI and you're like, oh, this is so gross. And like everybody collectively is like, AI music is gross, right? Makes you feel icky when you find out that you listen to one. You see this shift happening all over the place. People don't want it. People don't want it, especially in the creative space. Now, you also see the shift from digital to analog, or digital to in-person experiences, right? Like everybody wants more in-person experiences. Everyone wants to go to conferences, to concerts, to real weddings, I think that's why actually the wedding industry is doing so well right now in terms of like, the prices are so high right now for weddings, because you guys, people really value weddings right now. People really value weddings. Like when my wife and I get invited to a wedding, we're stoked. We're like, what? We get to go to an in-person dress up experience, like with real food and real fun people, like hanging out and having a party. Like we're there. You know what I'm saying? So people love that kind of stuff. People still want to go see movies. I know the cinemas are kind of dying in a way, but they're also doing pretty well in other ways. And they're kind of tailoring the experiences differently. Like a lot of them are offering food and dinner, like it's a full experience. People still are going to restaurants. They're not just like, oh, doing takeout, whatever have you. No, people want to go to an in-person restaurant. People are, oh my word, have you noticed this? Books are on the rise. People want to read books again, which makes no sense, where everything is short form content, everything is like short attention spans, but somehow humanity is making this massive book comeback. What? How does that make sense? Even some of these classics are having these massive comebacks. How does that make sense in our time? Humans, man. Humans. You can't put your finger on them. Or you look at photography, specifically film. Film is having this massive comeback. Why the heck would film be having a massive comeback when we have digital? I don't know, dude. Humans, dude. Humans. You can't put your finger on them. For some reason, they want the human element. They want the analog. I don't know, but that's what it is. I'm in the same boat. Okay. I want these things. I want these tangible, analog, in-person experiences. And so in all of these cases, the human characteristic of the thing is increasing in value. The digital, practical, utilitarian, speed-first element is decreasing in value. People want it less. Now, not in every single case. Like Don't get me wrong. If you're telling me Amazon can ship me my stuff within like 2 minutes, sure, I'll have that. But there's other things where I'm like, no, I actually want the real human analog in-person thing. And I don't want you to try to replace that. Right? So it's already happening, you guys. Like the boomerang of this digital tech boom and this AI boom is already swinging back, in my personal opinion. Of course, it goes full speed ahead, like almost off the cliff. But just before it jumps off the cliff, I feel like humans are always like, hold on. We don't want this to take over. And I see that happening more and more so as AI continues to try to take over. Why is this? I think it's the same reason you ask to talk to a service rep, a real human service rep, when you're trying to get in touch with a brand or a business, instead of their dang recording on your phone or the AI chatbot. Ugh, gross. You feel seen, heard, spoken to, connected with when you're actually talking to a person. So, my advice in all of this, as it relates to you and your business and your world, is not just listen to this episode and be like, oh, that's cool. Well, this makes me feel a little better. Anyways, no. If that's all we did here, I failed you. Here's what I want you to do with all of this, okay? My advice to you is think about, where can you humanize your brand, your business experience, what you do for people. I want you to start attaching your worth to the human behind your work, okay? This is why I talk so much about personal branding. Please hear me out. Personal branding, human value, is just going to become so much more important, so much more imperative to you running a successful business when AI tries to take over. Think about it. When you are on social media, you need to be sharing yourself as a person, as a real human being, okay? Especially as social media gets more cluttered up and more clouded with AI slop. Your takes need to be shared. Your beliefs need to be shared. Your passions need to be shared. Things you love, things you can't stand. Okay? Humanize yourself. And I think by and large, humans will connect with you because of that. Other humans will connect with you because of that. And that's your customers. Okay? And I think by and large, again, humans will prevail in this way. Don't get me wrong. I think there will be a cost to all of this AI. And that's what makes me sad about the potentials of AI, because I do think there will be a cost. But I actually do not think that it will be as dystopian as the math or the theory or some of the experts say that it's going to be, right? Like, you can't math human response to something. Humans aren't as programmable or as predictable as that, in my opinion. I also believe that God is fundamentally in control, and that God is embodied in the image of the people who bear his image. We are created in the image of God. And so I do not believe AI can conquer those who are created in the image of God. I don't believe it. And you can call me crazy, but that's what I believe. So personally, my prediction is, this is going to maybe be a little bit gutsy of me to say, I personally predict that there may be an artistic renaissance in key areas of the market, and a human renaissance, and human touch, and human, not literally physically human touch, but I'm saying the human touch element of everything that you do will actually become a luxury, even more than it is now. That if you get to work with a human, it's a luxury. Okay? So people will pay more for it. I believe there will also be a religious renaissance or revival, or whatever you have. I already think that's here. That's already happening. I already see it. People want the religion. People want the divine. People want the spiritual, the something greater than the material. I believe there will be an analog renaissance, and there already is. There will be a renaissance that desires beauty. I also think there might even be an offline renaissance, because online, I think, will become so polluted with AI that people just won't want to be online as much anymore. I even wonder what that means for social media for the future. And you're already seeing hints of all of this. I think we will begin to see this even more, but we'll see, right? Last thing I want to talk about is when to reject AI. And I promised you that I talk about that, but I'm just going to, like, when to make war on it, when to say, here, I will use it this way, but go no further. I'm going to say that for another episode. Okay. I think it kind of deserves its own episode, especially so this one doesn't become so long. We're already at 30 minutes. We've covered a lot. But all in all, for what this episode has been, I hope this encourages you. There's so much doom and gloom on this topic, and I wanted this to feel like a moment of, wait a dang minute. You know what I mean? And a moment of like, okay. That's what I wanted to feel like for you, especially as an artist and especially as a creative. If this did encourage you, please, I'd love it if you could share this with a friend to encourage them as well. And then subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. I'd love to keep serving you in this space. But other than that, thank you so much for listening. You guys are the greatest. Get out there and human the heck out of this world. Be the image of God to the world around you. Take care, you guys. I will see you guys back here next week.